Happy Saturday, iconic glamours. My name is Stacey Leanne. I love makeup and I'm a huge horror fan. You're gonna have to excuse me this week. I am absolutely full of it. I keep losing my voice. It's a thing. This week we are talking all things Gremlins. Let's get into that festive holiday spirit. I use Jolie Beauty's Spellbound palette. I will link it down below in the description with all the other products that I used. Don't forget to like and subscribe, maybe give it a share, help a girl out. Hide your dogs, stand behind your mums, and let's get into it. Before the movies, Gremlin already existed in popular culture. RAF pilots during World War II blamed mysterious mechanical mishaps on small invisible creatures called gremlins. The term gremlins was an RAF slang among pilots in the Middle East and India in the 1920s. Mischievous saboteurs living in machinery capable of causing unpredictable chaos, sometimes seen as pranksters and other times seen as malevolent. To combat these creatures, pilots would carry mascots often depicting friendly-looking gremlins. The concept helped maintain morale by providing a scapegoat for failures, rather than have the pilots blame each other. This folklore directly influenced their trickster nature in the films. The chaos-causing mentality of the transformed mogwai and the term gremlins itself. The Gremlins is a children's novel written by British author Roald Dahl, and it was published in 1943. In writing the book, Dahl draws on his own experience as a Royal Air Force pilot during the Second World War. Dahl expanded RAF folklore into a child's book where gremlins were small magical creatures living in the forest or RAF planes. Sometimes helpful, sometimes vengeful, with their own culture and grievances. The Gremlins is the story of Gus, a British World War II fighter pilot who, during the Battle of Britain, turned to look out onto the wing of his plane only to see an amazing sight: a little man no more than 6 inches with a tail and horns growing from his head, drilling a hole in the plane's wing. Gus was the first man to ever see a gremlin, and what happened after that would change the war and the world. Eventually, the gremlins are retrained by the Royal Air Force to repair rather than to sabotage aircraft and restore Gus to active flight status after a particularly severe crash. While the movie Gremlins are far more monstrous, the concept of little creatures causing mechanical trouble and interacting with humans. Columbus wrote Gremlins as a dark, horror-focused script before Spielberg softened it. Gizmo and Stripe were the same creature at first, and Gizmo was supposed to turn evil. The original script was heavily influenced by the horror genre, with scenes that were significantly different in the final movie. It had a much darker tone. Gremlins killed people more violently, like Billy's mum's death and eating his dog was originally on screen, satire of suburban American life and a strong emphasis on the rules and their supernatural consequences. The script was submitted to numerous producers but was initially rejected by all of them due to its dark nature. Spielberg eventually discovered the script and decided to produce it, but guided the film towards a less horrifying PG-rated tone. Spielberg insisted that Gizmo remain good, to serve as a cute versus chaos emotional anchor. George Gipe, author of a few other novelizations, such as Back to the Future, was given the task of turning the movie into a book before the movie hit theatres, or even before the script was complete. This meant adding his own additions to the story to provide backgrounds for the characters as well as fixing any plot holes. The Gipe novel provides the only detailed Mogwai mythology, not considered strict canon but extremely influential to fan lore. The novel's perspective switches between characters throughout the books, including the main Mogwai, Gizmo, and his fellow gremlins. Gizmo's perspective on the events of the novel are intelligent and analytical, and certainly not what one would expect after seeing the film version. Gizmo is hands down the most intelligent character in the novel, but also the most defenseless, making his relationship with Billy far more dynamic than what was portrayed in the original film. In the novel, Mogwai were bioengineered creatures created by an alien scientist on another planet. Their purpose was to spread peace and harmony across the galaxy. However, something went wrong in their design. The mutation under Earth's conditions, like exposure to sunlight, was a lethal genetic flaw. Water instability forced reproduction, and feeding after midnight gave them an unstable metabolism, creating the Gremlins transformation. Gizmo is described as a prototype who did not fully mutate, but highly intelligent and emotionally balanced, just lacked the aggression. Oh, this is one of the nicest skin tints. This is by Sculpted by Aimee. It's just so pretty. Anyway, the novel works to resolve the plot holes in the movie and to answer questions which aren't answered in the film. The first big question is, why are the other Mogwai created from Gizmo so fundamentally different from him? Gipe reveals that there are two types of Mogwai, the minority and the majority. The minority Mogwai are like those originally created by the Mogtermen, gentle and intelligent, while the majority Mogwai are less intelligent and short-lived. The difference between the two is revealed when the leader of the new Mogwai, Stripe, confronts Gizmo. The novel continues to move quickly through the plot for the most part, sticking to the events of the movie, while also adding perspective to the story. However, Gipe appears to change the plot as he sees fit. For example, in the movie, Stripe gets food after midnight by chewing the cord of Billy's alarm clock, freezing it in time before midnight. But how does Stripe know that he will become a gremlin if he eats after midnight? In the novelization, Stripe pulls the cord to the alarm clock, thinking that it's connected to Billy's television in order to get Billy's attention because he's hungry. The best scene in the entire novel occurs when Gizmo realizes that Stripe has turned into a gremlin, causing him to have a flashback of the other times that gremlins were let loose upon the world. The novel is phenomenal, both as an independent work of science fiction and as a supplement to the movie, despite the fact that the novel is quite different from the film in many regards. The version frames Gremlins as a cosmic accident. The first Gremlins movie, released in 1984 and was directed by Joe Dante and produced by Steven Spielberg. It mixes horror, comedy, and a Christmas movie sentiment. The film follows Billy Peltzer, who receives a Mogwai Gizmo as a Christmas present. When a glass of water is accidentally spilled on Gizmo, he multiplies into 5 new Mogwai. Billy breaks the 3 most important rules for caring for the Mogwai: no bright lights, no water, no food after midnight, which unleashes a horde of mischievous, destructive gremlin creatures on his small town. The iconic Christmas setting was chosen to contrast cute holiday story with monster mayhem. Spielberg loved the contrast between Gizmo's cuteness and the chaotic gremlins. The idea was Looney Tunes meets creature horror. Gremlins 2, the new batch, was released in 1990. Joe Dante agreed to return only if he had total creative freedom. Billy and Kate from the original film have moved to Manhattan and work in a high-tech corporate building owned by eccentric billionaire Daniel Clamp. Gizmo, who has been living with the original shop owner, is captured after the owner dies and is brought to the Clamp Building's genetic laboratory. A series of mishaps, including a splash of water, causes Gizmo to spawn a new batch of gremlins. The genetic lab allows for the creation of various types of gremlins, such as the intelligent gremlin or brain gremlin, a bat gremlin, an electrical gremlin, and a spider gremlin. The gremlins, of course, cause widespread pandemonium, taking over different departments and sections of the building, from TV studios to the building's infrastructure. The new batch of gremlins, particularly the mutated brain gremlin, seeks to escape the building. Gremlins 2 was a box office hit and was praised for its humour and creativity. It is often regarded as funnier than its predecessor, though some still prefer the original's darker tone. Gremlins: Secret of Mogwai was released in 2023. It is an animated prequel set in 1920s China. The series focuses on how 10-year-old Sam Wing met the young Mogwai Gizmo, along with a teenage street thief named Ellie. Sam and Gizmo take a perilous journey through Chinese countryside, encountering and sometimes battling colourful monsters and spirits from Chinese mythology and Chinese folklore, on their quest to return Gizmo to his family and uncover a legendary treasure. They are pursued by Riley Green, a power-hungry industrialist, and his growing army of evil gremlins. The series also delves into the creation of the Mogwai by goddess Nua and her brother Fuxi. Yeah. The second season takes place 1 year after the first season. It explores Mogwai mythology, expands character backgrounds like Gizmo and Mr. Wing's family. It introduces more Mogwai varieties and a deeper mythological lore, establishing Mogwai as mythical creatures rather than a science fiction bio-experiment. Now, the famous rules. Do not expose to bright light, especially sunlight. Contact with sunlight causes intense physical pain for the Mogwai. If exposed to bright lights, they will immediately seek shelter in the shadows. The gremlin subspecies is highly allergic to sunlight exposure. Brief contact will cause the skin to burn, and prolonged contact will kill them. This has been proven as the one truly effective way to stop a gremlin outbreak. Do not get them wet. Contact with water causes a unique chemical reaction in the Mogwai and in its gremlin form, instigating instantaneous parthenogenesis. I think that's how you say it, I don't know. If subjected to prolonged contact with water, the creature will multiply almost exponentially. Production of offspring occurs differently depending on the creature. Production of offspring occurs differently depending on if the creature is a mogwai or at a gremlin stage. Mogwai offspring are produced as very fluffy balls emitted at high velocity from the creature's upper back. In gremlin form, however, the offspring are instead grown rapidly in transparent sacs, also on the creature's upper back, and never feed after midnight. If a mogwai eats after midnight, it goes into a pupal stage, ultimately emerging as a member of the malevolent gremlin subspecies. If present in sufficient numbers, gremlins can cause significant risk to public well-being. Mogwai are generally cute, furry, and intelligent. They mimic voices and are prone to mischief, but not inherently evil. They are highly sensitive to the environment triggers, hence the rules. Post-midnight transformations, Mogwai turns into gremlins with reptilian skin, extremely aggressive with a sadistic humour. Technically brilliant but malicious and driven by impulse and chaos. However, Gizmo is unique. Across films, novels, and TV series, Gizmo has consistent special traits. He has exceptional intelligence, the ability to problem solve, he's emotionally understanding, and has knowledge of dangers and the rules. Gizmo is a rare, near-perfect prototype mogwai, genetically stable, emotionally balanced, and capable of empathy. He shows loyalty to Billy, strategic thinker, and has a deep understanding of the dangers his own species can cause if they're mishandled. I'm going down. He plays instruments, sings, imitates speech, and invents small objects, especially in Gremlins 2. Unlike other mogwai, he avoids temptation and refuses to harm unless absolutely necessary, often battling his own monstrous offspring. Stripe is the first and most iconic gremlin, identified by his white furry mohawk. He is cunning and sadistic and charismatic among his kind. As Gizmo's first child, Stripe mirrors Gizmo, intelligent but morally corrupt. He orchestrates the gremlins' takeover of Kingston Falls using tools, weapons, and tactics with surprising strategy. A violent leader, he's clever, charismatic, and loves to torture and play pranks. He also enjoys close combat. The brain gremlin is genetically enhanced, chaotic, intellectually evil. His first appearance is in Gremlins 2, created in the Clamp Center's biotech lab. This gremlin gains superintelligence, eloquent speech, and a cultured personality thanks to the experimental serum. He represents the franchise at its most satirical. He wants gremlin society to be civilized but still dangerous. He's refined, funny, and eloquent, less violent but still lethal. Greta, she is given a gender hormone serum. Greta becomes the only known female. She develops a strong romantic obsession with Forster, Clamp's head of security, often depicted as flamboyant, over the top, and surprisingly affectionate. She's also dramatic, playful, and persistent. Vegetable gremlin, a botanical mutation caused by eating a generic plant serum. He sprouts vegetables from his body and behaves half creature, half sentient plant. the electric gremlin, literally becomes living electricity. He can travel through power systems and zap targets. Then we have Billy, a well-meaning young man who becomes Gizmo's caretaker. Despite mistakes, Billy is brave and resourceful, acting as the human anchor of the story. He forms a deep bond with Gizmo, and Kay is Billy's girlfriend. She is compassionate and independent. Brand, Billy's father, a lovable failure whose malfunctioning inventions cause many problems. He buys Gizmo from Mr. Wing's grandson, setting the story in motion. Lynn, Billy's mother, is sharp, practical, and unexpectedly brutal while defending her home. She don't mess with Mama Bear. She kills multiple gremlins in the kitchen. She is one of the few humans who can fight gremlins effectively. Mr. Wing, or Grandfather Wing, keeper of the Mogwai law and their rules, represents respect for ancient knowledge and warns that the Western society is just not ready for creatures like the Mogwai. Gizmo originally was going to become Stripe. Chris Columbus's original script had Gizmo turning into Stripe halfway through the movie. Steven Spielberg changed this during production, saying the audience needed a consistently cute hero and not to traumatize kids by corrupting him. The decision made Gizmo an icon. The film helped create the PG-13 rating. Gremlins 1984 and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom were both too intense for PG, but not quite R. As a result, PG-13 was created shortly after. Gremlins is a main reason that rating exists today. Early versions of the script were extremely dark. Original scenes were later removed. Billy's mother was killed and decapitated, and the dog was eaten. I'm glad they took that out. The gremlins attacked a McDonald's and ate the customers, not the food, and several more violent deaths. Joe Dante and Spielberg toned it down for a more horror comedy mix. Gizmo's design was partially inspired by a baby and a dog. His looks came from a Pekingese puppy's face, a human infant's proportions, and a touch of Yoda-like wisdom. The goal: cute enough to sell toys, expressive enough to act. Each gremlin puppet cost up to $40,000 and there were dozens of them. Production required complex animatronics, multiple puppeteers per creature, and special rigs for stunt gremlins. The studio hired security guards to check the crew's pockets at the end of the day so no one would steal a puppet. Stripe and Gizmo shared the same puppet in the early concepts. At one point, the crew planned to use one single puppet for Gizmo and Stripe, swap out accessories like the mohawk. This was quickly abandoned as their personalities diverged. The Kingston Falls set was used from Back to the Future. Both films used Universal Studios' Courthouse Square backlot. That's why the snowy Christmas town in Gremlins later resembles Hill Valley from Back to the Future. Joe Dante intentionally added cartoon humour. The director was a huge Looney Tunes fan. Because the Gremlins behave like living cartoon characters, Gremlins 2 is filled with direct references. Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck literally opened the sequel. Stripe's death was inspired by Raiders of the Lost Ark. His melting skeleton is a deliberate homage to the face melting theme. The visual effects team wanted something equally shocking but fitting the creature's biology. The Gremlins language is real. Constructed language voice actor Michael Winslow and sound designer Bob McDonald created a full sound library, repeatable phonic patterns and inflections to communicate emotions. Stripe used improvised growls layered with mechanical effects. Billy's mum is secretly one of the toughest characters. Don't come between a mama bear and her cubs. In the unrated early cut, she kills 5 gremlins with a blender, stabs one with a knife, and microwaves the other. Even in the theatrical cut, she is the only human to win a full-on fight with multiple gremlins. Never Feed After Midnight was intentionally vague. Joe Dante has said, the rule is magical, not scientific. It's meant to feel mysterious and slightly irrational, like in old folklore or fairy tale casts. Mr. Wing's shop does have hidden references. If you look closely in the first film, Chinese dragons, Tibetan prayer wheels and scrolls referencing spirits and ancient creatures, implying Mogwai are connected to deep Eastern mythology. In the George Gype novel, Mogwai were created by alien scientists designed to spread peace but malfunctions on Earth. Gizmo is a rare, perfect prototype, not canon in the films, but beloved fan lore. Gremlins 2 Electric Gremlin was created so they could kill all the others off quickly. The writers needed a way to end the film without physically blowing up every mutant gremlin or dragging out another fight scene, so the solution was to electrocute them all at once using one of their own kinds. Gremlins became iconic for its perfect blend of cute and horrific suburban satire mixed with dark fantasy, a holiday setting with twisted humour, a timeless design of Mogwai and Gremlins, and Gizmo as merchandising is just a powerhouse. And it's also a genre-defying film, neither a kids movie or pure horror, and that's why we love Gremlins. Thank you for staying until now. I'm gonna go and get into bed and carry on watching Daredevil because I'm on a superhero kick right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay spooky, stay glam, and I will see you next week.